In this review of the week's news, New Zealand's first gorillas on display at Orana Park, big moves are planned for the Charity Hospital, and another heritage building bites the dust. This is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Gordon Findlater. The government will pay full value for all red zone land, but some uninsured red zoners still want payouts for their houses too. Is this a fair solution? Jared McCulloch reports.
A step forward for the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority today as the organisation re-evaluated again their offer to uninsured red zoners. It's been a long time coming, with the government's original offer of 50% compensation for land being scrapped, and then it was raised to 80%, which also caused a public outcry. Those homeowners uninsured have already successfully taken their matter to the Supreme Court to get a better payout. Now Sarah has raised its offer to 100% of the 2007-2008 property values for uninsured red zone homeowners, but with no payment towards the building on the land. But the spokesperson for the nearly 50 quake outcasts says it's still not enough.
We're still unimpressed. I know they've made a move and they may think it's a good one, but we're not accepting that.
Sarah says uninsured property owners will need to relocate, salvage or sell any buildings on their red zone site, or even elect the government to move their property at a cost to the Crown. But Miller says more needs to be done before homeowners can accept the offer. When
you look at people's properties, and these people, once they accept the offer, they've got to move out of that property, and it's absolutely necessary for them to have full value for their properties. I think they should be fully paid up. Some people might have difficulty with this, but they should be. Everybody should be treated the same.
But he says there may be a couple of red zoners who would accept the offer on the table.
We've got to admit that's an improvement. You cannot say that it isn't, but at the end of the day, it's still not good enough. It's not a garage sale. We cannot say, oh, I'll give you so much for this particular bike or whatever. It's not like that. We're talking about property here. Very serious.
Despite those unhappy with the latest announcement, Sarah hopes to start the process of offering the new offer in the next fortnight, but the issue may not be over yet. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
They're the first ever gorillas in New Zealand, and this week the long-awaited gorilla enclosure at Orana Park officially opened. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Orana Wildlife Park welcomes some new residents today, with 3 gorilla brothers moving over from Aussie.
It's a very proud moment today to be opening this amazing facility. We first mooted gorillas back in 2007, but of course between then and now we've had a lot of natural disasters, earthquakes, snowstorms, blown down by windstorms, a lot of setbacks. So it's delayed, but today is opening day. We're very proud.
The boys arrived in mid-June, having to brave the cold Christchurch winter, but their enclosure ensures full comfort, with regulated temperatures inside at roughly 21 degrees at all times. Fataki Fuzu and Mahali travelled from Taronga Zoo in Sydney, where they were born in captivity.
They were put into crates, specially designed for gorillas, pretty heavy-duty stuff, and loaded onto an air freighter. One of our staff members and their primary keeper in Taronga came on the plane with them, so they always had someone nearby that they felt comfortable with. And it was in the small hours of a very cold morning they landed.
The staff have been letting the 3 brothers settle into their new $6 million home.
The 2 older boys have been off display for quite a few years, so this is new to them. We've been trying to get as many people up here as possible to ease them into it. But Mahali, he's been out and about ever since he was born, basically, so we're hoping his showmanship will rub off on the others.
It's taken the park longer than expected to receive the gorillas, the only ones in New Zealand.
It also took us longer to carry on fundraising because, of course, due to the increase in building standards, the costs escalated quite significantly on the project as well.
Lynn explains that each zoo develops a 5-year animal collection plan and all participate in breeding programs. The exchange program mainly runs throughout Australasia, and each zoo can choose which animals and which programs they want dibs on. And Orana Wildlife Park was all about the monkey business from the beginning.
Gorillas is definitely something that we've always been interested in doing, and the program, the international program, required further holders in support of it. What happens is that when males in a group get to a certain age, the silverback will toss them out. So we're starting off in the program by holding extra males that have been tossed out of the family group until they're required for breeding, and that's a really important job for this critically endangered species.
The boys eat 170 kilograms of fruit and veg each week, with only 3% of their diet consisting of fruits. These beautiful creatures are the largest and most powerful of all the primates, but are also gentle and social.
They've each got their own traits. Mahali, he's, like I said, the cheeky one. He's always into everything, pushing the boundaries. Fuzu, he's our sensitive boy. He likes to sit on the fence and try to be friends with everybody. Fataki, he's big and impressive, but he's such a big sweetheart, such a softie.
After a long time coming, the team at Orana Wildlife Park are extremely proud that they have finally managed to bring New Zealand's first gorillas to Christchurch.
My breath was taken away, although I had been to visit them several times before they arrived in Australia, and I'd have to say that the first day they went outside here was perhaps one of the most moving experiences in my entire life. Fataki, the big boy in particular, he climbed to the top of the highest platform and he looked out right across the park and saw the vista. He could see for miles, and I'm so certain I saw a sense of wonder in his eyes, and it moved me.
The park will be the gorillas' final home, with some new neighbours arriving in a year's time.
We're going to have Simang up here for a little bit while we revamp their house down below. They're looking at about a year. But yeah, they're a different kettle of fish altogether. They're scarily smart. So yeah, they're going to keep us on our toes, definitely. These guys, they are very intelligent, but they're happy to just go with the flow, whereas orangutans are always pushing, always seeing what they can do, what they can achieve.
The official opening of the exhibit was today, attended by Mayor Leanne Dalzell this afternoon. Visitors will be able to view the gorillas on Friday. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
It's helped out thousands in the city who can't afford rising hospital costs. And now the Cantore Charity Hospital is getting even better. Jared McCulloch reports.
Both an unveiling and a milestone for this Canterbury Medical Clinic. It's an important day for this hospital in Christchurch, celebrating the opening of the new extension to their medical facilities. It was officially opened by the New Zealand Governor-General, Sir Jerry Mateparae, and his second trip to the site in the space of 3 years. Sir Mateparae opened the West Wing 2 years ago, and the chair of the hospital says it's good to have him back once again to celebrate the next stage of the charity.
The post-operative recovery area has been increased in size, about doubled, which means we can make longer operating lists and therefore do more people. So that's really important. We've also added quite a lot more space. We've got an additional house where we'll be able to do some administration, and we hope soon we'll be able to have overnight stay there too.
The new extension to the East Wing cost the Trust around $400,000, with the hospital still remaining open through its 3-month transformation, with patients moved to the East Wing. The new areas of redevelopment have room for 9 more beds, meaning the hospital can increase the number of surgeries throughout the day.
They've doubled the size of recovery, they've improved the facilities for the staff, a bigger changing area for the staff. We put a new veranda on the front and we put a loo in there so that people don't have to walk through the whole building to use the loo. So it's partly in terms of improving the throughput, it's also making it easier for people to use.
The hospital first opened back in 2007, a much smaller premises than what exists today. The facility is run by over 300 volunteers, working to provide a range of medical services including surgical, dental and counselling services. And Bagshaw says he can't believe how far the charity has come.
These days, there are certain things that you can't get done in the public hospital system. If you're acutely ill or have a major illness you can, but if you have more minor things, often you can't get those done.
The Medical Trust didn't receive any funding assistance from the government, with many people and companies donating to make the new part of the hospital possible. And Bagshaw says when it first opened, he never thought the hospital would grow so rapidly.
Oh no, I don't think anyone envisaged it would be like this. I think we thought it would be a fairly low-key performance, and initially we were using second-hand equipment and hand-me-downs, but people would come and say, oh no, you can't have that, and take it away and give us a new one. So very quickly we acquired a lot of new equipment and a lot of new support.
But he says it doesn't stop here, with goals well underway for the future.
We plan to really put through bigger numbers.
Another step forward for healthcare in Canterbury. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
Coming up, Sarah signs off on pulling another heritage building down. Welcome back. It's a beautiful building, but it's coming down. It's yet another story of insurance payouts being more viable than restoration. But heritage advocates are not happy. Chelsea Daniels reports.
Heritage advocates have been up in arms about a demolition of a Georgian building in Bishop's Court, which was approved today.
It shouldn't be demolished because it's one of the few remaining important listed heritage buildings we have in Christchurch, certainly of this style and character and by such an important designer, Cecil Wood.
The building resides within the Bishop's Park Retirement Village in Park Terrace, across from Hagley Park. It's owned by Anglican Care and in 1926 was built for the city's Anglican bishop. It is considered highly by both Heritage New Zealand and the Christchurch City Council as a Category 1 heritage site.
It's a building which has been recognised nationally by Heritage New Zealand, the official government heritage body, as a Category 1 building, so that's the most important kind of building, and it's also long been recognised by the City Council.
Ross has his doubts about the sincerity of the decision, claiming that a very little thought has been put into the issue.
All we know is that is what we've read in the paper today from John Cumberpatch, who says, yes, it's earthquake prone. That means it's less than 33%, 34% of the new building standard. But that's a CERA engineer. There's no evidence that this CERA engineer is the last or final authority on the matter. Whether his work or her work has been peer reviewed, whether this person has any special facility for dealing with heritage buildings. So it's a very bold and sweeping statement.
However, Deputy Chief Executive of Implementation for CERA disagrees. He says that CERA has taken all means necessary in the steps to demolish the building.
The owners have carried out over a period of time a series of engineering assessments, and the building is, as I said, dangerous. We're not running at these things all mob-handed. We're very careful, and I can confidently say, in all the structures that I've been involved in, and that's all of them over the period since the earthquakes, we have followed the law. We've taken very careful advice from engineers, from both our own engineers, private building owners' engineers, council and other heritage engineers.
He says that it's an expensive job to restore the building, something that the owners are not capable of.
My understanding is that their insurance cover is insufficient to come anywhere near repairing the structure. That's a fact of life which is it's affected all sorts of buildings and all sorts of building owners. So it's not just heritage structures.
Baden says that it's in Sarah's best interest to make sure the residents of the village are safe.
I'm a statutory decision maker, and my colleague John Cumberpatch looked at all the relevant considerations for this particular structure and reached a decision to issue a Section 38 notice. So that's in the sort of the process side. As an individual living in this community, I'd love to keep them. At the end of the day, it comes down to resources, money, people, time. And where there's no money and there's no time and the structures are badly damaged, we find ourselves often with little alternative.
It is not known when the structure is due to be pulled down or whether or not Historic Places Canterbury will be able to prevent it from happening. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Canterbury's new season provincial rugby team has been named, and there's plenty of new faces in the lineup. Here's Jared McCulloch.
The Canterbury rugby team competing in this year's ITM Cup has been named, with a large squad of new players to hit the field. 7 uncapped players will make their debut for the side, with the team preparing themselves for their first pre-season game this week. And the head coach says it's all go.
Focus is just getting clarity of roles and getting the right people in the right places and a few introductions and get excited about another season.
2 new players have travelled from across the ditch to be a part of this year's lineup, one from the Western Force Super Rugby team and the other who's been competing at school level as a winger. Also, Tololo will make his Canterbury side debut, coming from the New Brighton Rugby Club. And back on home soil was previous Canterbury and Crusaders player Cameron McIntyre, who's been playing rugby in Japan. He's been capped 31 times and is one of the most experienced players on the side, and now he's back to play again in the championship, something he's looking forward to.
I've had a couple of injuries the last few years, but running around with these boys and the young guys, it's made me feel a bit younger and doesn't feel like that long ago I was actually out here.
But he won't be available for some time yet, being out for injury, but he says it shouldn't be long until he takes to the field again.
I've just got to wait to see the surgeon who gives you the all clear, but I'm doing sort of 90% of the training. It's just that last bit of contact that I'm sort of not involved with at the moment. So get that over the next couple of weeks and hopefully I'll be good to go.
Return to play for him is round 2. So it's not too far away, he's just got to get a clearance from a specialist.
The ITM Cup season will hopefully be a highlight for loose forward Luke Whitelock as captain of the Canterbury side for 2015. He was part of the Crusaders Super Rugby franchise and now he's keen to get out and play provincial rugby.
I didn't play a lot of Super Rugby this year, so just hugely excited about ITM Cup starting. It's also awesome playing in the afternoon and good weather, and it's just a great competition to be a part of. There's 15 guys out on the field, and there's a few that come on, so everyone's got a role to play. Some more, than others in different areas. So it's obviously about having a good bunch of guys around you as well.
A newcomer from Lincoln University is halfback Jack Straighton. The 20-year-old says he's looking forward to the season and playing for the side.
The training's been good. These last week and coming into this week, it's been exciting being alongside some good players and just getting some experience with them.
The first game kicks off this Friday afternoon with the home side taking on Wellington at the Rugby League Park in Newton. Jared McCulloch, CTV Sport.
Still to come, Ronald McDonald House is robbed in the middle of the night. Welcome back. A Canterbury mayor is welcoming the government's plans to encourage immigrants to move to the regions. Here's Jared McCulloch.
Regional towns around the country will be applauding with more assistance to growth travelling their way. The government announced over the weekend at the National Party conference in Auckland the new immigration policy to be enforced and attract overseas migrants to the regions. Auckland has received most of the population boom over the years, and now a new initiative can see other places like Timaru have new residents to make their town home.
I think it's a positive step. Any incentive to encourage immigrants to move into rural provincial New Zealand has got to be good.
The rule change would see both skilled immigrants and entrepreneurs gain more points towards getting their New Zealand residency, but it would be extended over a longer period of time, from 3 months to 12. Currently, skilled overseas workers would receive 10 points if they accept a job outside of Auckland. Now they'll be bumped up to 30. For entrepreneurs who do the same, their immigration points will double from 20 to 40. And he says the push to get people down south is a massive move towards growing the township.
One of the things that we suffer from is the lack of people, and getting those people to come down here and understand that the lifestyle, the income that they can earn, coupled with the cost of living, makes it a pretty attractive part of the country to be in, really.
According to the 2013 Statistics New Zealand census, Timaru's population is sitting around 47,000 people. And the mayor says new residents have been the council's focus and the government has taken the time to listen.
I think all things take time, and I think the government clearly now are aware that they need to be putting a few more tools in the old toolbox as to to take a bit of pressure off Auckland, but also help rural provincial growth.
He believes statements over the last few years about smaller provincial towns dying is not true at all, and says Timaru is growing every day, especially in the workforce.
Got a lot of primary industry and secondary industry in our district, also being one of the first towns that Chorus has wired up to ultra fast. We've got a lot of new technologies coming into the district and entrepreneurs. So our growth is actually bucking the trends for what some may perceive as the general outlook for rural provincial New Zealand. So our growth is very strong, and it's looking set to continue to grow.
However, he says he's not concerned about the possibility of migrants moving away from the small town after they gain New Zealand residency when they've been in the town for a year.
When I was talking to these chief executives and general managers of these big employers, the big companies, a lot of them had been transferred to Timaru, and they all made the comment that it was part of their career path, and sometimes when they spoke to their wives and families, they were like, "Oh, really? We're going to Timaru?" And the majority of those people all sat there with a big grin on their face saying, "Hey, we've been here now for 5 years, 7 years, and we love it, and we're not leaving."
But he says time will tell if regional New Zealand will thrive again. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
Police are continuing to investigate a break-in and theft at Ronald McDonald House, which happened last weekend. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
The Ronald McDonald House, South Island, who provides housing for sick children and their families while they seek treatment, has been burgled over the weekend.
Sometime over Friday night, early hours of Saturday morning, we've had someone who's broken into the building and into an office and has taken a safe from a cupboard in our office. So, a little bit disconcerting to think that someone's been through the house at night time when we've got families here and and our overnight team that are here as well.
The burglars broke into the charity house on Friday night, making off with a safe containing cash donations and bank account details.
It's stuff that is not going to stop what we do, but it's, I guess what it does is that people are generous to us, and that's how we operate as an organisation, is from the generosity of people. And so to have that generosity undermined by someone taking or stealing their donations and their support for us is just a bit disappointing.
This building alone housed 763 families just last year, with 1,200 guest visits, and a lot of those families coming back for reoccurring visits. 26 families are currently staying at the house, and Matthew says that it's a priority of his that they are made to feel safe and secure.
When we spoke to them over the weekend, we were very cautious and quiet, I guess, about going, because we didn't want to alarm people. And it was interesting. People they shared their thoughts very openly, and I think it was probably more around that initially just feeling a little bit vulnerable for what had happened, but then more so it's come into feeling really frustrated that someone has taken advantage of the work that we do with them.
The break-in is a first for the charity, and Matthew wants to do everything he can to keep it from happening again.
So what we've been doing from here is really just making sure that we focus on the families and that they're in a good space and they're not being unduly impacted by this, and from our team perspective to make sure that they actually feel good as well. And then we're looking at how do we manage that risk side of things, so we hopefully mitigate or reduce the opportunity for that to happen again.
Security are going through camera footage today, and they'll forward that on to police, who are currently working on the investigation.
You do wonder about the type of person that would steal from a charity, and and you think, well, what would motivate someone to think that that's an okay thing to do? I just don't get that.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
That's CTV News Week in Review. I'm Gordon Finlater. Have a great weekend.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.